I guess what we really need at Brightside is ongoing financial support, and that's the bottom line. It comes down to, unfortunately, we can't operate without donations that are financial donations. This is Bones. Bones is one of about 600 greyhounds we've rescued. And while we've been here, and the cost of rehabilitating a dog like Bones is about $600. So we usually out of pocket about $20,000 a year just when you look at the dogs or the greyhounds. So that's the main thing. But donations of food are really good. Donations of blankets and towels are really good. Animal crates, all those things. Basically anything that you need at a sanctuary to help animals is very much appreciated when it comes our way. We have regular volunteers at Brightside Farm Sanctuary and we love them. We rely on them really heavily. Obviously we can't afford to have a full paid staff like a lot of other shelters. So we have wonderful volunteers and it's a really awesome environment for people to help animals in. And we find that our volunteers stay. Once they come, they tend to stay. So some of our volunteers have been here, 3 years, 4 years.
I've been volunteering for about a year and a half now, and I started working here about 3 months ago or so. Yeah, so I volunteer Saturdays and work Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I was looking around for animal sanctuary sort of places, and then I was looking on Animals Australia and it said Brightside there, that it helped. So I went and I asked if I could volunteer in the holidays, and I did until Emma said I could volunteer now on the weekends. So
I think the current situation when it comes to animal welfare is pretty sad in Tasmania. I think there needs to be a lot more work done. The government doesn't give any support to organisations like Brightside, and yet we're the only organisation in Tasmania doing education in schools on the level that we are. When you think it's a totally, a small organisation that's funded by public donations only. It's frustrating that there's not government money being put into things like education programs on animal welfare, because it really is an important issue. Gandhi said the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated, and that really is so true. I think it's the bottom line. Children love animals when they're born, little tiny children. I think someone said you put a baby in a cot with an apple and a rabbit, which one will it eat? It won't eat the rabbit. We're all born caring about animals, and then something goes wrong for a lot of people, and education is really, really important, I think, in this area. I don't know why the government's not more supportive of organisations like Brightside Farm Sanctuary. I think, they're happy to put me on the government honour roll for women, but yet they're the first to avoid funding or giving any funding to the organisation that I started up and run. And, a classic example, and I'm going back to greyhounds again, is the fact that we get no funding for rehoming greyhounds in Tasmania, and we rehome more greyhounds than any other organisation or any government organisation like GAP. So we have such a thorough rehabilitation program, and our dogs are never returned. And yet hundreds of thousands of dollars in state funding goes to the greyhound adoption program while we receive nothing. So at the moment, projects that we're working on are shelters, building projects for shelters and office. We don't have a proper office, so we've got volunteers building us an office at the moment. The most important thing that we're looking at in the near future is a kennel block. So we don't have a proper setup of indoor kennels where we can shut dogs inside at night to reduce barking so that we're not, upsetting neighbours. Our neighbours are really tolerant, but we need a proper kennels. With the growing pressure on us to take greyhounds, and it really is a growing pressure, I think Brightside has become so well known for its greyhound rehabilitation program statewide that trainers are coming to us rather than going into GAP. I've had an ongoing relationship with some greyhound trainers for several years, and that word has spread throughout Tasmania, and now a number of greyhound trainers contact me because they can't get them into the government program, the racing industry program. They contact me, and of course I love greyhounds. I can't say no, and I never turn a greyhound away. So we charge a $50 surrender fee. And then the greyhound is left with us, and we then make a decision about how well we can rehabilitate it, whether it's safe with other animals, whether it can be put in, and to a home with cats and dogs and chickens. And we find more than half our greyhounds go off and live happily with cats and other animals. So we have a pretty good program, and I either collect them from properties where trainers are or they deliver them to Brightside. Over the last 10 years, I've seen such terrible examples of humans neglecting animals that it causes quite a lot of you never forget all these people that care ringing me wanting help, and then you have to prioritise who gets your time. It's really hard. It's a 7-day-a-week job, and there is never time off. There's never time to just take time out. But as far as for Brightside in the future, I worry about it a lot. I really worry about it a lot. I worry that I can't have the same expectations of others that I put on myself, so I can't expect other people to commit their entire being to helping animals. There are lots of people out there that do, but it's hard to find people. We have amazing volunteers, and I hope that some of those will stay with us going into the future, because we couldn't survive without our volunteers. I guess I don't look too far into the future. I just try and set Brightside up so that it will go on after I drop off the perch, and I don't want it to stop with me. I want it to keep going. I want there to be a sanctuary in Tasmania that rescues and rehabilitates animals that need another chance. So this is Malou, and Malou came here about 10 days ago. The morning that he came here, he couldn't stand up. He was frothing at the mouth and he was nearly dead. I think he's a classic example of when people move to the country and decide to get a few animals as companions, but they don't actually do their homework to find out how to look after them. And so Malou ended up pretty much a skeleton with skin, with a very bad skin condition. So he was tearing his wool out with his teeth, and he was in a really, really bad way, a very bad way, and very distressed. So incredibly, he survived. I actually thought he would die, but he's doing pretty well. So I think it's just sad when people don't do enough research into the animals that they're going to sort of bring into their family, and they end up causing suffering when their intentions are good to start off with. This is Sweet Pea. She's a saddleback, so she was a meat producing pig in a free range pig farm. She'd been used for breeding until she could no longer get pregnant, and she was a skeleton with skin, and her owner was a vet, so a vet that bred free range pork. And he asked me if I would take her so she could have a retirement home. And I was loath to take another pig, but when I saw the condition she was in, I brought her home. And she was only just on her feet. She was the most emaciated pig I've ever seen. But as you can see, she's no longer skinny. These are 2 rescued racehorses, so both thoroughbreds from the racing industry. So this is Mr. Friendly, who's a Tasmanian rescued racehorse who was going to be pet meat. But this horse here is called Sam. His race name was Brawny. He was a $290,000 yearling at the yearling sales. I bought him out of the meat pens at Echuca, where I outbid the human great meat buyer, so for $240. So he went from being, a $290,000 horse for racing to a $240 human grade meat. So his meat would have been exported overseas after he'd had a 12-hour truck trip in a semi-trailer full of horses to South Australia, where he would have been slaughtered. So he lives here, and he's a bit of an ambassador for his kind. So he loves people. He actually loves people more than he loves horses. He's a great, great horse. So Brightside is home to about 250 animals, but we rehome hundreds of animals every year. So approximately 80 or 90, 100 greyhounds a year, about 100 other dogs, and then farm animals, so pigs, sheep, cows, chickens, goats. There's even alpacas and camels here. So basically any farm animal in need, we try to help. We obviously can't help them all. We're not a very big property, but as long as we can find new homes for them, we can keep taking animals in.
The mighty Emma Haswell is one of the great Tasmanians. Brave, stoic, passionate and tenacious. Emma gives voice to the voiceless. We should be so thankful for the work that she does, for greyhounds, for chickens, for dogs, for the pigs, for every animal. And we know that the work Emma does comes at a personal cost to her because she cares so much. And so on behalf of the Greens and every Tasmanian who cares about the welfare of animals, I just want to say thank you, Emma. We love you.